Welcome everyone to the webinar that's about treatment plans and getting the signature on that treatment plan. What should you do, why you should do it, and how to get this done. My name is Amelia. I'm actually the audit manager for program integrity in the Office of Medicaid Policy and Planning here in FSSA. So to start off, what should you do? So talking about your treatment plans, Indiana Administrative Code requires that all of our treatment plans have to be signed by the consumer. That's in code, it's 440 IAC 9-2-3. And if you are a CMHC or community mental health center, you have to provide these individualized treatment plans, and you have to do that according to the standards that are set out in that section, and that's the 440 note on top. One of those standards are that your consumers have to be involved in the planning process of this treatment plan, and this participation and development that's indicated by that consumer signature on the treatment plan document. So, we know we have to have this treatment plan. The consumers have to be participating in this development, and really that's indicated by the signature on the treatment plan. This plan, it's a collaborative process, and kind of that underlying why are we having these signatures? Well, it's to show that there was some collaboration between parties and that the consumer was involved. So what are we here at the state observing when we are going in and looking at various treatment plans? So working with our friends over at the Division of Mental Health and Addiction, in their state fiscal year 2018 audits, 14 CMHCs were cited for a lack of signature on the treatment plan, and 10 of those were actually recited from prior audits, so that's like a 71% were recited. And in these audits, there were an additional 5 CMHCs that had at least one chart out of compliance. It wasn't enough to be cited, but it was noted. Overall, 63% of the charts reviewed had adequate signatures, but 37 did not. Now, in my little area in program integrity, when we had the 2017 payment error rate measurement audit, which is when CMS comes in and takes a look at Medicaid and CHIP, and what are we paying out, and should we have, they produce error rates for each of our programs. One of the error rates they look at are medical error rates, and actually 40% of the medical error rates involved treatment plan issues. So that's the 96 errors. And within those 96 errors that CMS saw, 91 of them were because there was no consumer or guardian signature on the treatment plan. So that's a 94.8% of the CMHC errors involved this lack of signature. So we know the administrative code requires a signature on the treatment plan. The state is observing, we're not seeing them. So really, why should you be doing this? Why are we having this webinar? Why did we have a live webinar a while back to talk to you guys about this? First and foremost, you do want to stay compliant with Indiana code. A lack of that consumer signature on the treatment plan means that the plan's not compliant with Indiana Administrative Code. And if it's a non-compliant plan, that means that per federal law, the state has to recoup all funds paid for services during the duration of that treatment plan. It's all of the services under that non-compliant plan and all of the funds for those. But we're not just here to kind of say what we could do. We're trying to help you all out, and we had a live webinar and talked about this, and so we got some great suggestions from people. So first and foremost, best practices, we're kind of breaking this into 2 different types of records, your paper records, your hard copy records, and then your electronic records. So with paper records, the very best practice is just to have that consumer sign the original copy of the treatment plan. If for some reason you have to kind of have a separate document that the consumer is signing, you're going to really want to keep that document with the original treatment plan. And probably the most important thing is that anybody who is involved in records and record keeping should know the location of the treatment plan and that signature page if it's in two separate areas. Now, looking at electronic records, obviously, again, the best thing to do is if you have a way to attach the signature to that electronic record, whether it be like a PDF that you could scan in or an electronic signature pad, that would be great. You know, again, if it's two separate sort of documents, e-documents, you're going to want to save them in the same location, and I'm sure you're already tired of hearing it. Everybody who's involved with records should know where these are kept. That's kind of the easiest fix. So, as I mentioned before, we had a great live webinar about this, and part of it was we asked people to provide, you know, what are they doing, what are some issues. So here's some things that we've seen, both in that webinar and then in conference with our other FSSA partners. The first thing is policy updating, just making sure the policy reflects how you're getting those signatures and where you're keeping those signatures, making sure your staff is trained on that, again, how you get them and where you keep them. Some best practices we heard was, as have been mentioned already, keeping everything together. Some centers may not allow you, if you keep electronic records, to bring in that sort of electronic signature pad, but you know, you can develop a workaround, perhaps printing off the paper treatment plan for the individual to sign there, or you know, if you've got an kind of, we talked about the electronic records, if you have that electronic file, have some sort of attestation that you can have somebody sign and then scan it in and keep it in that same location with the treatment plan. We had a question about, you know, what if our treatment plan needs to be updated? We're running out of time with it, but the client is a no-show. I think that's something you just need to document in the file. We did also get a few questions about the timeliness of documentation. The state very recently put out banner BR 201915. That's BR 201915, and that's found on the IHCP provider website. So if you go to Indiana Medicaid, you know, our website, there's an area you can click on as a provider, and it's our banners and bulletin page. And so you would be able to search for that banner, and it discusses that. Again, BR 201915. And we're also going to be putting out a webinar soon, hopefully very soon in the future, about the medical record requirements under the new program integrity rule. So that question is going to be answered very soon. So again, kind of to recap everything, you know, you got to have that signature. You know, we're not seeing that as the state when we go in and are reviewing documentation. And we are, you know, if it's a non-compliant treatment plan, we're required under federal law to recoup funds for those services. But, you know, as you've heard today, the easiest fix is to keep signatures in the same place if it's electronic, or, you know, keep it on the treatment plan, and make sure that everyone knows where those signatures are kept relative to the treatment plans. Thank you all for paying attention to the webinar. And again, thank you very much for all that you do to help, you know, Indiana citizens. Program integrity within the Office of OMPP, we're working on putting out different webinars on different topics. This is the email address. I would welcome anybody who has a topic they'd like us to cover, or if you've got questions or suggestions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We have a list of topics, but if something else is more important, we're happy to put that in there as well. So feel free to reach out to us via this email, and thank you very much.